How's everyone doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today, I wanted to talk to everyone about a very interesting topic. The government basically decided to stop or halt, rather, production of the penny. And what does that really mean? Is there any ripple effects to that? What could be some of the negative or some of the drawbacks, if you will, to doing that? So I saw a blog post from PCBB basically addressing this very subject. And this blog post is entitled "The Impact of Halting Penny Production. Due to high production costs, the U.S. Mint will press the very last penny early next year. We discuss the impact for consumers, businesses, and banks." And this starts off by saying, the look and feel of a penny have changed several times since the 1 cent coin was first minted in 1792. The first design included an image of a woman with flowing hair, which symbolized liberty. This was replaced with a flying eagle in 1857 and the bust of Abraham Lincoln in 1909 to commemorate his 100th birthday. In 2009, 4 different penny designs representing the 4 major aspects of Lincoln's life were issued to honor his 200th birthday. Also, the first pennies minted were larger than today's pennies and made of pure copper, while today's pennies are made of copper and zinc. At some point early next year, however, in 2026, the U.S. Mint will press the very last penny. The final order of penny blanks was issued in May, and new pennies will only be manufactured for as long as they last. After this, no more new pennies will be put into circulation, though existing pennies will still be recognized as legal tender. So the big question here is why? So why pennies are no longer being minted after 2026? Why has the government decided to stop minting pennies, which have been in circulation for more than 230 years? One of the main reasons is simple economics. Due to rising material costs, the cost of manufacturing a penny, about 3.7 cents, is higher than the value of the coin itself. Halting penny production will save an estimated $56 million per year. In addition, it could prove beneficial to the environment by lessening copper and zinc mining. The concept of getting rid of pennies isn't new. Many in the government, banking, and retail industries have been floating the idea for years. The National Association of Convenience Stores urged eliminating pennies in order to speed transaction time for customers paying with cash. Convenience stores handle more cash transactions, approximately 32 million per day nationwide, than any other retail group. Despite Benjamin Franklin's timeless advice that a penny saved is a penny earned, most people today place very little value on pennies. Digital payments have lessened consumers' reliance on small denomination coins, and many customers paying in cash leave pennies behind at the checkout or don't bother picking them up on the sidewalk or the street. So much for saying, see a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck. In addition, despite there being an estimated 114 billion pennies currently in circulation, pennies are severely underutilized due to so many buried beneath couch cushions or stashed in coin jars or junk drawers. The U.S. isn't the first country to phase out its 1 cent coins. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand have all done so effectively with little impact on their economies, banking, or retail industries. In Canada, cash sales are rounded up or down to the nearest nickel based on the total transaction amount. Now, what is the potential impact on consumers? So just because new pennies will no longer be minted doesn't mean pennies are going away anytime soon. There's no plan to destroy the billions of pennies currently in circulation, which the government has said might remain in circulation for decades and can still be used for payment even after new coin production stops. So you can relax if you have a jar full of pennies you've been waiting to cash in. However, the phase out of the penny could have a significant impact on consumers, businesses, and community financial institutions. Here are a few of the possibilities. So we have disproportionate impact on the unbanked and low-income consumers. We have disrupted pricing strategies for retailers, bank adjustments serving cash-based businesses, and bank coin inventory changes. So let's go through each one of these real quick. So disproportionate impact on the unbanked and low-income consumers. So low-income and unbanked consumers more often tend to pay in cash. Those transactions stand to be impacted the most due to potentially higher prices. If retailers round up to the nearest nickel, this puts pressure on consumers with the least ability to be flexible with their money, possibly deterring them from making certain purchases or shopping with certain retailers. Disrupting pricing strategies for retailers. So retailers will likely start rounding cash transactions to the nearest nickel, which will affect pricing strategies and possibly have inflationary effects. So long to the traditional 99-cent pricing strategy. Eventually, the nickel, which costs nearly 14 cents per coin to manufacture, will become the new penny. Bank adjustments serving cash-based businesses. It may fall on CFIs to educate customers about how the change could affect them. Business customers who deal in cash may request more nickels than usual, as they will become the lowest coin denomination. Businesses might even see minimal cash flow changes if they adjust their pricing strategies to eliminate pennies. Bank coin inventory changes. So with pennies no longer being minted, rolls of pennies will eventually disappear from branches. However, financial institutions can still accept pennies, which will be melted and recycled once they're sent back to the Treasury. Customers may request pennies to be counted and deposited into their accounts. Be prepared to increase your inventory of nickels for both businesses and consumers eager to spend pennies before they lose value. And this wraps up by saying the full implications are unclear. While many economists and bankers believe the impact of the pennies phase out will be negligible, it's impossible to predict what the full effects will be. For example, there could be broader implications for the economy and the banking sector than are currently anticipated. Now is the time for banks to start preparing for the eventual transition away from the penny. Talk to your operations, communications, and marketing teams about how you can get ready for the switch. So, and again, I think this is really this might seem very mundane, like kind of, okay, it's the penny, who cares, whatever. However, again, it does get interesting because, like they noted in here, the 99-cent pricing strategy. Well, how do you do that? Does the 99-cent just become the $1? Does it become the 105 strategy? Again, it gets very interesting because again, the 99-cent strategy, it's not necessarily just about money. It's a psychological strategy too. I mean, again, you don't price stuff at $1, you price it at 99 cents or 95 cents, or, instead of saying 1,900, or instead of saying $2,000, you say $1,999.98. Because if psychologically, that literally makes people feel like they're getting a better deal. It's crazy, but that's how it works. So there's an anchoring effect. There's a psychological effect. The pricing strategy. I mean, it does get very interesting in a number of ways. The other thing is for banks, like, okay, so as pennies start going away, banks are going to have to start getting a lot more nickels. And they said in here, basically, so a nickel is 5 cents, but it costs 14 cents per coin to manufacture. Now, if the penny goes away and the nickel becomes like the dominant low coin, because that is the lowest denomination coin, and banks really start to increase the volume of nickels that they have on count. Does that, like, in other words, so you're going to save what, $56 million. Where did it say that? You're basically save an estimated $56 million per year. But if the usage of nickels dramatically goes up, is that going to negate that savings? So then you get back to well, what's the point? So, because again, it costs a lot more. They're losing more on nickels than they are on pennies. Like a pennies is 1 cent and it costs 3.7 cents to make that. But a nickel's 5 cents, but it costs 14 cents per coin to manufacture. So, you're losing 9 cents on nickels, whereas you're only losing 2.7 cents on pennies. So again, it just gets very interesting. And then what does that do again to businesses that deal a lot more in cash and change? I would tend to believe that the effect on the economy, as it says here, will be rather negligible because other countries have done this and they've done it without really much of an issue. But like I said, it's just interesting. I think that there probably are a few things that will happen that basically people aren't anticipating. So again, just very interesting. But like I said, I thought it was again, I thought this was a little bit more interesting of a topic than maybe it might have seemed on the surface. But we shall see what happens, and obviously we'll bring you more an update. Obviously we'll get some more will happen in 2026 when this really kicks in. But for right now, I'm going to wrap up this episode by basically saying, if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that always helps the channel. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And as always, please make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everybody has a great day out there, and I will see everyone again real soon. Take care.